Are you craving a trip on Space Mountain? Well, we've got the next best thing. Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast.
Hey folks, and welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, the ultimate unofficial Disney fan podcast. I'm Jeff DePauli, and today on the show I have my friend Marco joining me, also known as the Pizza Planet Truck Guy. Hello and welcome back, Marco. How's it going?
Good. It's going great. I think third time on here. It gets better and better each time.
Yeah, it's like second time this season. So, hey, But we did tease this when you were on earlier this season because you were on the show to talk about Toy Story 4. And at the time, you had just got back from a little adventure with the Pizza Planet truck. And you said you couldn't really talk about it, but you promised when you could, you would be back to talk about it. So now is the time, and we can say that this is related to a Disney Plus project called Pixar in Real Life. So let's jump into that conversation right now.
It's time to dive into today's Disney Dialogue.
Awesome. So Marco, now that you can talk about Pixar in real life, what an awesome adventure.
Yeah, it was exhilarating. This is now with the truck being in New York. It is now the third state that the truck has been in, and it hasn't really set tire down in any other state besides Florida and California, which is kind of neat when you think about it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So for the folks who don't know, do you want to describe Pixar in real life a little bit? In fact, last week on the show, I did a whole Disney Plus. We binged everything new that came out in that first day. Folks, if you haven't listened to that yet, go back 1 week and listen to that. Everything brand new, all the original content for Disney Plus on that episode. But we didn't really talk too much about Pixar in real life for the very reason that I knew you were coming on the show. So for the folks that don't know what Pixar in real life is, would you like to describe it?
Pixar in real life is a series of small skits and like almost they're not flash mobs. Don't call them that, but they're like public skits in which people are able to participate in. They're not mean-spirited in any way. Like anyone, like if you're participating in it, you're probably having a good time. And if you're watching it from afar, you're able to see the joy that it brings. The truck was involved. What I can say about that at this point is that keep your eyes peeled when watching the episodes of Pixar in real life.
So basically, very much like the way that the Pizza Planet truck makes an appearance in, is it every Pixar film still to this day? Is it every film?
I would like to say that it's every film except for The Incredibles. That has been up to debate mostly between fans and the creators and people who worked on the film who say no, and people who swear that they see a banana shape or yellow blur in certain scenes. But I'm going to side with the people who actually made it and say that The Incredibles does not have it.
Okay, so most Pixar films, for fans listening that may not know, Pizza Planet Truck is a vehicle from the original Toy Story film, the first Pixar animated film, and kind of as an Easter egg in most of the Pixar films, they have a little cameo of the Pizza Planet Truck in various forms, and it's a fun little game. It's like when Alfred Hitchcock used to be in a lot of his films, and you'd keep your eye out for him. So it's a fun, cool thing that they've done with the Pixar films, and now they've created this show called Pixar in Real Life, and they're doing the same thing. And Marco has made the Pizza Planet truck in real life. So it's this awesome kind of marriage of like, you know, legitimate Disney production with fan creation melding
layers
together.
And layers of meta on top of each other. It's just Inception where just like culture is folding in on itself at this point.
Yeah,
in a very neat way.
It's interesting you mentioned, it's not a flash mob, but I will say that's the word I wrote down for it. I recognize it is not a flash mob, but I think that's a really good way to describe it for people who may not have seen it yet, because it's that thing where it's happening in public and the people around may not get what it is, but it just brings a smile to your face. Yeah, so they're bringing us scenes from Pixar movies, and episode 1 launched with Disney Plus, and I think by the time that this episode of Disney Coast to Coast is released, the second one will be available, but at this time it's not. But the first one is called Inside Out: Console in the Park, and I gotta tell you, I watched it 3 times to find your truck. I was like, wait a second, because the first time I'm watching it, I'm like really paying attention to what's going on. It's so much fun, but it took me 3 times. And then finally, Should I spoil it for people? Tell them where it is?
I think keep it a challenge.
Okay.
I'm reveling in the fact that that you had to watch it a couple times. I had to watch it a couple times.
Did you not know either?
I was there. I knew where I was in relation to the main event, and I still was like, oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it's a quick little cut, but why don't you describe what they did with Inside Out?
Oh, well, with Inside Out, they set up a console. So it's the headquarters emotions panel in the park. And what was neat is that people are able to play with it, pull the switches, and you can actually see the emotions buttons. And when they interact with the levers and buttons, they are having an unexpected effect on other park goers, to the surprise of the people who approach it.
Yeah, so basically there were improvisation actors in the park reacting to this, and it was, Pixar in real life. It's so much fun. And like you said, it just brings so much joy to people. And I think my favorite thing about this one, because this one, not so super obvious. There are some future ones that we'll talk about, like WALL-E. You see WALL-E, it's WALL-E. But, this board of emotions. At first, people were a little bit like, what is this? And then finally, you hear people, oh, it's like from Inside Out. And it was fun to see them get that realization, and then fun to see them realize, oh, we're controlling this little scene we're seeing.
And I think what's neat with that is it's similar to how that kind of reaction is the type of reaction we have with the truck whenever we go places where it's like people go, I think I've seen this. You're able to kind of feel your way through it, and then you go, oh wait, I know what this is, and then that all the synapses start firing, and people are able to have a little fun with it.
Yeah, so much fun. Okay, so was this a sort of project where you heard this was coming along and you reached out to somebody, or were you reached out to because you're known as the Pizza Planet truck guy?
We were contacted, and I'm thankful that we are in a Rolodex somewhere where someone's like, "Oh, we need a Pizza Planet truck." There we go. Yeah. And it was a really neat opportunity, and we were shipped across the country again. The truck survived, and that's probably the craziest adventure that we had, was actually getting the truck into New York.
So you can't drive. I mean, this truck has a lot of miles on it. How many miles?
It does. Last I checked, when we got back, we had 248,000 miles on it.
Oh gosh. Okay, so you're not doing any cross country trips with the Pizza Planet truck, so they have to ship it for you, and then you meet back up with the truck in New York.
Right. So that's where things got really interesting with that. So when we were talking with the folks who were making everything happen, the producers and all that, the truck was supposed to arrive on a certain day. I was supposed to fly in maybe about a day and a half before, drop my stuff off, get settled, and then come into the city, get used to the transit, figure out, where to go. And probably about 2 days before I was supposed to fly out, I get an email saying, truck's going to arrive a day early. And I go, wait, so that means
before you get there?
Almost exactly when I get there.
Oh no.
So what happened was I was scheduled on a 6:00 flight, and I ended up wasn't able to make that flight. So I hopped on a 7:00 flight. I landed in JFK. I flew out of LAX, actually wasn't too bad. Landed in JFK around, I think 3:34ish. Got onto the air train, took the Long Island Railroad. I took Long Island Railroad over the subway. For locals that get this, I took Long Island Railroad because I had a fair amount of luggage, and I just wanted to be taken straight into Penn Station, not have to try to figure out the subway. This is my first time going to New York as an adult. Last time I was there, I was 12. So get into the city. I'm not even in Manhattan proper for more than 10 minutes. I call a Lyft. I hop in a Lyft. And because the truck was being delivered early, and we thought it was going to be dropped off in Brooklyn, so then I could backtrack on Manhattan. And then we found out that because of Manhattan size, you can't exactly ship a car and roll in with a flatbed. So it had to be dropped off in Jersey. And so I had to take a Lyft.
No.
Take a Lyft to Jersey. And it was a fair distance. It wasn't bad. It was more just how everything's so packed in New York. So
yeah.
Get dropped off. I pick up the truck. I think I got to the truck at about 6 by then, and then get the papers, wipe off the windows, and I'm like, I have to get to the parking structure before, traffic gets crazy. But I didn't want to take the main freeways down there because it was just, I was going to get routed onto the Lincoln Tunnel, which would have put me like several miles farther north than I needed to be. So I took kind of like a roundabout way, took a little longer than I needed to, but like wanted to get my bearings out there. Went into one of the tunnels. But by the time that I was, by the time I got there, it's rush hour to get into the city.
For people who did not grow up in the Northeast or haven't visited New York, I'm sure this sounds like, oh, what's the big deal? This is literally this is stressing me out hearing it come from your mouth.
And like, this is my first time driving in New York. Like, I mean, like to give you like a history, like I've driven in California, I've driven in Arizona, I've driven in Texas briefly, I've driven in Florida, and I've driven in Philadelphia. And I know I just listed a jumble of cities and states, and it just gives you a sense of the wide swath.
There's one place I refuse to drive, and I did it once, and I was like, never again.
Where did you drive?
San Francisco.
Oh, oof. Yeah, that was the first place we took the truck on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that was like one of our first big trips.
Those hills are being stopped at a red light on the hill at that angle is one of the most terrifying things. You're like, I'm going to roll. No, but if I gun it, I'm going to crash the it's the worst. I don't know how people get used to that.
I don't know how they do it. And like, I can't imagine the amount of breaks that they go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I ended up going into the Holland Tunnel because it was only about a couple blocks south, maybe about 8 blocks south from where I needed to go. But because of the rush hour traffic, by the time I got out of the tunnel, it was dark. And so my first time driving in Manhattan proper, it's dark. I've been up since 3 a.m. And I'm driving a rickety truck with a California plate with a license with a bumper sticker that says "How was my driving?" Ha, ha, ha. And so I learned very quickly that taxi drivers are insane. I learned. Let's see. So after that, I was able to drop the car off, and I didn't get to sleep that night until about 11:30 Eastern time. And so a lot of the filming was done on Manhattan, and learning to drive in that area was very, very interesting. I think what was really funny that this makes me sound like such a country mouse going into the city kind of thing.
Sure.
Is that the grand generalization about New Yorkers? I found that to be not true. The thing that I noticed, and I like to tell people now, is that New Yorkers don't care about you unless you are in their way. So don't be in their way. You can do whatever crazy maneuver you want. You can run across the street as long as you're not hindering them from moving forward. So moving around with a bright yellow car.
I was going to say, you have a little bit of an added benefit, because I'm pretty sure like somebody can be very irritated at you and want to honk, but then they're like, oh, it's the Pizza Planet truck.
That did happen a few times. We had a couple people stop traffic in their cars to be like, I'm going to take a picture. And I go, okay. And then took a picture. I heard a couple of people shout from their cars certain expletives that I thought were directed at me because of my driving, but it was them being excited about the truck. So I was like, oh, thank goodness. But you hear someone yell at you in New York and a horn honk. I was hailed as a cab on several occasions. People would be like waving at me, and I'd drive by them, and they're like, what the heck? And I'm like, I'm not a taxi.
That's amazing.
And some of the while driving around, there were certain situations where I had to be driving a path on a couple occasions.
Sure.
And what was very funny is there at the time with New York and most cities, there was a lot of construction, and so there were construction workers, and then there was NYPD and local areas is kind of like directing traffic. And on the 4th time around, they stopped me. They're like, are you lost? And I go, no, I'm participating in something that requires me to drive. Like, this isn't suspicious, but I need to keep driving in this path. And they go, oh, okay, like, we'll see what we can do. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I kept going. The next time I passed this like specific intersection, like full on intersection, the traffic worker and the the police officer, they stopped traffic against the light to ensure that I could just take the turn without slowing down.
Wow.
And they did that like every other time I was going around, because it took me about 10 minutes to do the loop. And that was really funny. And they also told me too, they're like, oh, like there was a time when, you can't do a right turn on a red in New York. Like that is the one thing. I did not know that either.
I didn't know that.
And like, that's the one thing I was told. They're like, you can do anything, but you can jaywalk in front of a cop. You can do, but don't make a right turn on red. That is what they'll get you on.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. And so I was thankful for that. But then, I'm sitting there being a Californian, like timidly approaching the right turn when there's a bunch of people crossing. And then like one of the guys is like, you just have to go, just go, they'll stop. And I go, okay. And I just kind of power through it. And people were like, oh, whoops.
Yeah.
Because they saw a California place. So they're like, oh, we'll just go by. And like,
yeah.
and so, what I like to say now is I have driven in New York and I no longer fear death.
Yeah, I don't find it to be as bad as you might expect. I mean, I wasn't in a car with over 200,000 miles on it, but I don't know. I've driven New York. It's the same as driving LA, kind of. Like in a downtown LA.
Yeah, they're like, no one is reckless, but people, if there is room, they will ensure that they get in there. And yeah, it's like, and I always looked at it like that. Like I had someone who like kind of like I thought they were cutting me off, and then I looked and I'm like, "There's room. Yeah, makes sense. Like I can't move forward." Like,
what's interesting about New York versus LA when it comes to we're talking about how people saw the truck and got really excited, and certainly that happens in LA. But there's something about LA where it kind of seems like everybody in this town is some way in showbiz, or at least knows somebody in showbiz, has spent time on a studio lot, has, been on a movie set, whatever. So, you get jaded faster than you might like. So seeing the Pizza Planet truck, I mean, it's pretty normal. I drive down the street, I see Back to the Future DeLoreans on a regular basis. I see Jurassic Park Jeeps on a regular basis. I see the Batmobile. I see the Pizza Planet truck. It's semi-normal in LA. But even though so much of the entertainment industry is in New York City, there's so much in New York City. It's like maybe 10% of the people living there are in the entertainment industry. So they still get, they're not as jaded about that sort of stuff, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like anything that is filmed in New York, unless it's like shutting down multiple blocks for like a blockbuster, it's pretty much like we're shooting New York as New York. So like they're just going to see like a trash can that's out of place. But to see like something kind of extraordinary and kind of weird, like the truck or some of the things that did happen, during the shoot, I think brought the best out of people. It was really interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other like funny things that happened while driving with the truck. I had one of those times I was doing a loop. There was a fair amount of traffic, and I was stopped, and I was like kind of forcing I was kind of like halfway in a left turn blocking traffic, and windows are rolled up. I'm just listening to music, and I get a little rap on the window, and I look, and it's NYPD, and I roll down the window and I go, "Hello, officer." And he goes, "That's a really cool car, man. I got a couple questions about it." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then traffic starts moving in front of me, and I slowly start moving forward, and he's walking beside the car, and I'm like, this probably looks super weird. This guy is slowly idling away from a cop that's talking to him. And I, he had a great time.
That's so
told
funny.
him some information. Yeah, it was a really neat experience. I can't wait for everyone to see like the finished product.
Yeah, it's officially launched. So episode 1, maybe 2, is now available, and they'll keep releasing them every week on Disney Plus. Do you have your subscription to Disney Plus?
I do. I signed up at the D23 Expo, and then found out that I also have Verizon. So
that's exactly why I didn't sign up at the Expo. I was like, they're getting everybody to commit to 3 years. I'm like, 3 years is a long time, and I know you're getting a good value, but my whole thing was like, I was interested in the Hulu bundle that they were going to offer. None of that was available till launch day, and there were a bunch of reasons. I'm like, I am not falling for this. I'll pay the extra $1 or $2 a month to see what the real options are. And I'm laughing at everybody that signed up. I love it.
Really want to like So behind me, well, this is an audio podcast. Behind Marco is the large door that leads to a closet. Inside this closet is a few boxes of Disney DVDs that we have, and I really want to cross-reference it to what is available on Disney Plus, because my family and I, we've just been collecting DVDs for years, and I think like the neatest thing that we have in there right now is did you ever see the Walt Disney Disney Treasures?
Oh yeah, the metal cases. I have a few of those.
I think we have like the complete first run of them. Not like Zorro or like Spin and Marty, but like Disneyland programs.
Yes, that's what I have.
Those are so great.
All the theme park stuff. Yeah. What I would say is don't get rid of your DVDs though, because
no. I'm holding on to these.
People I feel like are not grasping this concept of, oh, well, I don't need my Disney DVDs and Blu-rays anymore. I'm like, do you want to be paying for Disney Plus for the rest of your life? I mean, there's a chance you may have to cancel it for one reason or it might go away. Like, I don't know. Own the stuff you own is what I say. If you want to save space, get rid of the cases, but keep the discs.
Yeah.
But so in any case, back to Pixar in real life. Curious, did you sit down at any point? Did you get to brainstorm about ideas of where the Pizza Planet truck would make appearances, or was that kind of just all told to you?
I did not have a hand in the creative process. Okay. I was merely the truck. Yeah.
So were you, obviously you were there for shooting as far as them shooting the truck, but were you there like when your truck wasn't being shot? Were you there watching the process?
Yes, I was.
And was that like
it was a lot of fun. It was really neat. My background was in video production, and I had some interest in that. And so it was really neat I had done like a couple student films. I'd participated in a couple student films and a couple of like shoots and whatnot, and so like to be back in that again was amazing, but also to be back in it where I wasn't a gaffer or anything, where I was like, we need tape, and I'm like, okay, I was a grip on a couple of shoots. My favorite one that I was on was I was on a student film at USC where I was the fog wafter. That was my main thing. So someone else and we would come in with a big fog machine, pump a room full of fog, and then we'd close the door, and I would walk in with a big kind of like a piece of nylon. It was meant for lighting, and I would just kind of waft it so it would give just enough. And like I got very good at getting the fog atmosphere where like a beam of light could cut through it, but it didn't look too hyper realistic.
I'm actually like, that sounds like a dream gig.
It was a lot of fun. We were in this crazy house. I feel like I'm getting off topic. I'm sorry, Jeff.
No, that's okay. So you get to see them shoot these things. I mean, these little clips are minutes long. Typically, how long was it? A couple hours did shoot, or?
The ones I was on, most of them were a full day, full 8 hours.
Wow.
Or so.
Wow. A full 8 hours for about a 5-minute episode. That's incredible. Like, that's crazy. Wow. Do you have any favorites? I guess we've seen some of them in trailers, but I think there's more coming than what we've seen, right? In the trailers.
I got to watch that trailer again to make.
Okay, so we saw Wall-E in the trailer. We see him crossing the street in New York City. We see a Finding Dory one. I gotta say, the Finding Dory one where they have the octopus and the stroller running around, that's the one where if I saw that happening in real life, I don't think I would make the Pixar connection. Unless something happens later on that, makes it more obvious, where, I don't know. But at first I was like, I'd be so confused by
That's
this.
the new crossover. That's the new programming coming. It's like Cronenberg in real life. The
Incredibles Dash Run looks very cool. Monsters Inc. we saw with the sock entering the real world, and we have them all, freaking out. There's a human. It's so good. And then the little boy in the Up costume is adorable. Of course, we got Inside Out. And they did show an animated clip of Brave in the trailer, but they didn't show anything live action. So I'm assuming we're going to be getting something Brave as well.
I think I can say it would be a good bet to bet on.
so they showed 7. So we're getting at least 7 episodes is what they insinuated in the trailer. And of those 7, do you have a favorite one that you're looking most forward to seeing a final product?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen. I was in New York earlier this week, and I saw all of them, and they're all great. There's one in particular that the casting, and just like the way, like they're just so cool. Just really neat. Like I don't even want to like hint at it because it's just I want you guys to like.
It's gonna be a fun little surprise.
Yes, I will say it wasn't the one that I'm talking about wasn't in the trailer.
Okay,
and so there are more. There's a fair amount, and I think the season is 6 seasons in a movie. That's what I'd like to say for this.
Yeah, I mean, you probably can't answer this, but any rumors of a second season? We already got a High School Musical, the series season 2 coming.
I saw a tweet about that where someone was saying that they need to do a animated series based on a podcast based on that series. So it'd be High School, the musical, the series, the podcast, the animated series.
I think maybe I'm going to start that. Hey, that might be one of my next projects. There we go. Do you happen to know, was this the intention of this always for Disney Plus? Because it definitely has like viral YouTube kind of feel to it. But was this always a Disney Plus project, at least when you got involved?
I don't know. I don't know if it was originally meant to be like a YouTube video and then just grew legs.
Yeah.
But I think what's neat is it shows that you can do like a more polished version of a YouTube video. Like these are really neat. There's just like, there's some camera angles and just like the coverage is really neat.
Yeah. Now I can't remember if you said, is the Pizza Planet truck in every single episode?
Yeah. I think you should keep your eyes peeled for every episode.
Did you catch them all when you were watching it? You were in New York, you said recently, and that was for a release party, I assume? It was to
watch. It was to watch them before release, and to it was great to see the crew and everyone again. What I will say is that there are episodes that I have to watch again because I did not catch it, and I think that's saying something. Where it's like I know where I was on certain days, I know where I was in relation to stuff, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. It's I'm telling you, I was shocked. It got to the point when I saw that first episode, I was like, maybe he's just not in this one. Like maybe they're not doing the Pizza Planet truck for every episode. And then finally I catch it and I'm like, oh, I feel really stupid because this is very obvious. I was looking in all the hard spots, and so when it was right there, I was like, oh, all right.
I feel like they did a very good job of that, and I think it is very authentic to the essence of what the truck is. That sounded very artsy. It's very, very authentic. I think they stayed true to form in how they handled how the truck appeared in it. I think it was really fun.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you've had a lot of cool experiences because of the Pizza Planet truck, and I'm curious: is this the coolest, or was like going to Pixar cooler, or? Let's list what you've done with the truck. You've gone to Pixar at least once because of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've gone to Toy Story Land over at Walt Disney World because of it. You've now gone to New York City for a Pixar in real life. Mm-hmm. What else are some of the really insane things you've been invited to?
We've been in the Hollywood Christmas Parade for like the past 5 years.
Are you doing it this year?
Yes, we will be there. I can rattle off that information at the end. Designer Con, we cruised down to San Diego Comic-Con this year, which was amazing. We cruised down there and we were able to find a spot, and we're like, okay, here's the plan. Next year we're going to try this and see if we can. Because like you roll up in a pop culture car and people are like, well, this must belong here, and you park and gosh.
And D23 Expo.
D23 Expo, that was something. That was something crazy. In
2015, I think.
2015, I think. Yeah. That. I think what's really neat with a lot of the experiences is the truck has allowed us to like go visit places that we most certainly would never get to visit, like in a normal day, like Pixar, and but being able to experience like Florida and Walt Disney World and New York from this like fan pop culture perspective is fun. But I think like I don't want to compare them to each other 100%, but I would say like the D23 Expo is probably the highlight, because being able to interact with fans, being able to interact with people, like every time we do events now, we always encounter someone who has been like, I've been following this for 8 years. Yeah. And I'm sitting there going like, I can't, like, one, I think it's fascinating that people like saw us even that early in the process and stick with us. And, you know, like, then two, like at Pixar, we interact with people who actually worked and designed the Pizza Planet truck, who were going, well, that's neat. Like, you know, it's just, once again, that kind of meta on meta kind of thing where it's like, we're showing you something we made based on something that you made and you think it's cool.
Yeah.
So.
I can't believe that they just haven't built one yet. I mean, it's not in any Toy Story Land or anything, right? I guess because in Toy Story Land we're all shrunk down to the size of a toy, so the truck would be massive, so that wouldn't work. But I don't know, I'm just surprised for a parade or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know that when they first opened Pizza Planet, rest in peace, at MGM Hollywood Studios, it was out front for a couple years. Okay. I think, or at least a couple months, because I have a photo that someone who was on like the design team, he was like, yeah, I was able to take a picture of it with no one around before anyone, had like had a chance to like jump on it. And we have this photo of it. And so, and that was there at least for a few months. And I feel like that's one of those like Hatbox Ghost things that we could look into and be like, could we
in 20 years? No, it really was there.
It was there. And we'd have to like, can we source the material? We'd have to Todd James Pierce this, be like,
yeah. Hey, I'm curious where that one ended up then. That's really...
I'm not sure. One thing that we noticed though in the pictures is, so the movie came out in 95 and then... But like they opened it like shortly after, probably within a year. And so the truck that they used was most certainly like a 1994, 95. We can tell based on like just the shape of it. And it looked like it wasn't the most accurate, but also at the same time, it didn't look like it was meant to be there that long.
Sure.
So perhaps it was kind of like, well, we have a little leftover budget. Let's just put this out there. And I think probably the reason it was taken out was because of like, well, what do you want? Do you want 10 tables or do you want one car? And, you know, from a business perspective, unfortunately, you know what's going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to put it on the record out there, as far as this Pixar in real life is concerned, I know a lot of people don't like this movie. I enjoy this movie, but for Pixar in real life, I really want to see something good dinosaur happen, simply because I want to see dinosaurs in New York City and I want to see people deal with it. That's what I want to see from Pixar in real life.
I'm trying to think of like something. Oh man, like you could, if you were like in a park and you had like those little gophers just popping out or something.
Great. It'd be great. Awesome. Now, had you ever met, they used that Wall-E audio animatronics figure, which I think was part of the, what's that initiative they had? The real life characters, or what did they call it? They had a name for bringing, making these characters very, very real and interactive and stuff in the parks, like Lucky the Dinosaur and such. Had you ever met the Wall-E one before seeing it on set? Because I remember seeing him at the expo.
Yeah, I saw him at the expo, and I was under the I had seen videos of him like kind of like firing off a couple phrases, and it's completely different when you watch it from a video perspective and go, wow, it can do all these things. And then when you walk up and you're actually able to interact with them on that level, and it's mind melting, seeing him kind of scoot around and he'll like just kind of like chirp and kind of like say, interject and exclaim and certain things.
Yeah. Of all the films that we know about, as I said, Wall-E, Finding Dory, Incredibles, Monsters, Inc., Up, Inside Out, Brave, and of course, Inside Out, as I mentioned. Was there one that you really saw the reactions were like the biggest, or was it kind of across the board? People just love their Pixar and go crazy for all of it, or was one like whole? Because the Wall-E one to me just seems super cool because it's Wall-E, Wall-E.
I think what was interesting is that there was a lot of slow burns on even some of the more like, obvious ones. Like they kind of go, "What is this?" Because like I think like
Well,
people
New
see
Yorkers
something,
don't react to stuff, right?
yeah,
Like
they
they're
see
used
something and
to
they're like,
weird stuff.
yeah, what is this thing? Oh, this is something. And then when they realize like they can join in on that fun, I think was when that took a turn.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see like all the NDAs that all these people signed and everything. If I would not be surprised if like a good chunk of them are tourists, because the reactions that they're looking for are very like tourist reactions, whereas New Yorkers will walk by anything and be like, yeah, whatever, like it's a normal day in this crazy city. So it's wild. It's just such a fun project idea, and it's a nice little addition to Disney Plus, and I'm happy it's around. Anything else you want to add about your Pizza Planet Truck New York City adventure?
We did do an event towards the tail end of our time out there. We went down to Williamsburg Pizza, which I would like to say is probably my favorite pizza in New York City.
Wow.
So when it comes to pizza, like I am a big fan of the New York fold.
Okay, explain.
So from my understanding of the New York fold is that like the average slice of pizza is maybe about 4 to 5 inches wide, and the New York fold is double that. And since it's such a thin slice of pizza, the structural integrity of it can't handle the length of the pizza as well. So to ensure that it doesn't fall apart on the way to your mouth, you kind of have to like, you pick it up and you pluck your finger down and you pinch it, and then it kind of folds into this almost taco shape.
Okay.
It's still, you eat it like a normal pizza, but it's just because it's such a large piece, such a light piece. And at Williamsburg Pizza, the type of flour and everything, it's all down to like a science in this really neat way where like to kind of bring it back around, like, like in the way that they talk about bread and ratatouille, where it's like there's this crackle and there's this freshness. That's what it had. And it was it was amazing. It wasn't overly oily. I know there's a lot of people that like oily pizza, and we parked the truck out in front of a really cool pizzeria in New York, which is really crazy to say. Like, and we had a couple people go by, and they're just like, "What's this pizza? What is this? A competitor parking in front of it? What's going on?" And I would be like in a window, like, "No, let me tell you about it." And then they would just keep walking, and I'm like, but then we had some people who we met quite a few people who were free that day, and they came down, had some pizza, talked with us, and it's always fun. It's always fun to meet people who have interacted with the truck before. We actually had someone who was at D23, and he's like, "Yeah, last time I saw," he's like, "Is this the same one that was at D23?" And I go, "Yes, it was." And he's like, "Oh, it looks, looks different." So.
That's funny. Now let's just say sky's the limit. You've had amazing experiences with the Pizza Planet truck. Is there something else you would even if you're like, there's no way this is ever going to happen, is there something you're reaching for where you would love to see the Pizza Planet truck invited?
Oh man,
let's put it out in the universe.
Put it out in the universe. I don't know, like I think like the thing that we are hoping to do, and I think I say it every time that I hop on, is it's like I'd like to fix it up and go on a cross country trip. Yeah, and I think it would be really neat to try. Like I've jotted down kind of the structure where I wanted to be like, okay, we're going to go to a city and we're going to go to like one landmark, take a picture in front of it. And then we're going to go to like one local dive and park and like meet and greet, and then move to the next. And like, I think that would be really fun to do. I think that'd be neat. We still need to go visit the Up House in Utah. I think that would be a very fun spot to go to.
Cool.
I think, yeah, sky's the limit, though. I don't think I would be doing this, but I would love to see a more complete version of Pizza Planet built with an arcade, whether it's as a more permanent location or as some kind of like fan pop-up. I think that would be really fun to do. I think a lot of people would go gaga for that.
So it's like Alien Pizza Planet in Tomorrowland doesn't fulfill that for you?
There's no arcades, man. I can't whack an alien. Where's my claw game? Even if they like, truthfully, if they just put a claw game where it was just get an alien, like a little, like those wishables, like if it was a little wishable alien and it was just a claw game, and those claw games are already expensive, but if they had that, like that would probably that'd scratch that itch,
Yeah. Cool. I could totally see that. I mean, the only issue there. These pop-up restaurants, are really popular now. Saved by the Max I went to, which was based on the Max from Saved by the Bell. They opened the Peach Pit from Beverly Hills 90210. There's usually some sort of promotion with it where they're doing a reboot or whatever. The red tape here is like Disney Pixar would need to be involved, and they're not a company that likes to give out those permissions so much. So
yeah, there would have to be a very specific reason, and like Toy
Story 5. I don't know.
Yeah, or oh gosh, like Lamp Life is still coming out. Yeah, I don't know, and that's one thing. I don't know how you would go around that, or if Disney were to do something like it, we're just putting this out in the universe or not.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing somebody pointed out too, and recently when I was talking with somebody, is that Soul takes place very obviously in New York. And so we're like, I wonder what we could do there.
Yeah.
See you next year.
Exactly. So, folks, before we get some trivia, I do want to mention, if you want to hear more from Marco here, episode 535 of Disney Coast to Coast is all about the creation of the Pizza Planet truck, some of the wild adventures he'd previously gone on, and it's a great episode 535. Also, episode 645 is with him talking about Toy Story 4 that was earlier this year. So check those out, episodes 535 and episode 645. But I think that means it's trivia time! All right, do you want to hit me with a trivia question first, or shall I hit you?
You can hit me with a trivia question, Mr. Jeff.
So, obviously, there is no Disney theme park in New York City, but they do have a lot of theater there. But before all of the shenanigans of Pixar in real life, Disney brought something from their parks to New York City for one night only. The date was June 14th, 1997. Do you have any idea what piece of the Disney theme parks ended up in New York City, more specifically on Fifth Avenue?
On Fifth Avenue. I want to say like the electrical parade, Main Street Electrical Parade.
You are 100% correct. It was the Main Street Electrical Parade was brought to New York City on June 14th, 1997. Do you have any idea why they would have done that?
Was it for its like third to last farewell?
Yes, they were selling light bulbs to the... No.
Come get...
It was actually for the world premiere of Hercules. They had the premiere in New York, and they brought the Main Street Electrical Parade to promote it, and they actually created a new Hercules float as part of the parade. And so, yeah, it's a kind of cool event. I honestly wish the Main Street Electrical Parade would just tour the country at this point. I think that would be awesome.
That's how you keep that parade alive.
No, seriously, that's how I want to see it. Like, use it as a huge parks promotion thing and just hit Boston, Chicago, New York, wherever, all these major cities. I would love to see that happen, but I'm not holding my breath on that one. In any case, do you have a trivia question for me?
Which Disney animated feature held a premiere in Central Park in 1995?
Central Park, I want to say, was that Pocahontas?
Yes, you are correct.
Nice, yeah. So they did, premieres. I think Mulan was like the Hollywood Bowl. That was like a whole thing.
They used to do
them.
like big things like that, like they did, and I think now it's mostly just like it kind of dwindled after like I want to say like what was the last premiere at the parks? They had the last Pirates at the parks. They had
Pirates of the Caribbean. One of them. I think it was probably the original Pirates. They showed on like basically on the rivers of America. They put up a screen and some bleachers and stuff, which must have been crazy. And frankly, I don't know how comfortable that could have been to watch the entire movie that way.
And then they did like the Lone Ranger.
Oh, did they? Where'd they do that?
Yeah, they did it at the Hyperion. Yeah, they had. I remember I was there at the parks that day where they had like a full-on locomotive just sitting in the Esplanade, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. And they had like buttons and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Marco, thank you so much for coming back on the show to talk about these adventures. It's so crazy. I'm so happy for you that you got to go on that. And, I knew that it was happening a long time ago, and now you can finally talk about it. And it's just so cool that obviously I'm a Disney fan making Disney content because I enjoy it so much. You did the same thing, and I love to see the opportunities that have come out of it for you. So why don't you let the folks know where they can learn more about you, support the Pizza Planet truck, and perhaps see it sometime soon.
Yeah, to find most of our information is pizzaplanetruck.com. We were able to get that URL. I'm most active on Instagram these days, just Pizza Planet Truck on Instagram, all one word. And Twitter sometimes. Twitter has one letter too short for Pizza Planet Truck, so it's Pizza Planet Ruck or Pizza Plane Truck, depending on how you want to read that one out. The next thing we're going to be doing, we're going to be at DesignerCon, which will be at the Anaheim Convention Center on the weekend of November 22nd to Friday, November 22nd to Sunday, November 24th.
So that's right after this episode's released. Excellent.
And then we will be at the Hollywood Christmas Parade for, I want to say, the 5th year. That will be on December 1st. Sunday, December 1st. We park. What's cool with that is we park on Hollywood Boulevard starting at 1 p.m. The parade doesn't start till 7. So there's 6 hours in which we are chilling. So if you guys are in that area, come see a bunch of we're there with a bunch of other movie cars as well. And you can get to see all of the parade get set up. Yeah, like I'd recommend like parking far away and lifting or walking or anything.
Red line drops you off right there. You said you're at Hollywood and Highland?
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah. So take the red line, park at Universal City, Universal Studios, or at North Hollywood or something, or wherever. The red line goes directly to Hollywood and Highland. So that's the way to do it. That's awesome. I might try and swing by that day if I'm available to see you there, because I didn't realize you guys parked beforehand. That's cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. And folks, don't forget that the 2020 Disney Coast to Coast calendar is now available for purchase over at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. You can choose between a wall calendar to hang and display or a desk calendar, which comes in a case for easy display on your desktop. You'll be getting a bit of Disney magic to enjoy throughout the entire year. And in addition, celebrate the openings of the Disney theme parks, as each one's anniversary is notated on the calendar. Head over to DisneyCoastToCoast.com and order yours now. It's never too early to start planning for the new year. And other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!
Thanks for listening to Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePauli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com.